we're going to use the chair to rise back up from the floor. Again, the right leg bent or extended, whichever works for you. One more breath here. Hi everyone. So I've designed this class today for low back pain, especially in the psoas muscle that connects right about here, right along your lumbar spine, and also to the top of the back of your hips. Good boy, Winnie. We're going to need some props today. You're going to need a chair at the edge of your mat here, a block, a strap, and a folded up blanket, something firm but soft, maybe cotton or wool. Get those props together and I'll see you when we start our practice.
Make it routine.
Okay, we're going to start standing. Sometimes it's difficult with back pain to get yourself down to the floor and then rise back up from the floor. So in this practice, I'm going to help you ease yourself down to the floor utilizing the chair. And then at the end of the practice, we're going to use the chair to rise back up from the floor. Now, if you're in so much back pain that any part of this practice is painful for you, is wrong for you, please stop, get more rest for your back. That really might be what your back needs most, is rest. And then try to practice with us again. Let's turn towards the chair to begin and place your feet, ankles under your hips and hips under your shoulders. Place your hands on your thighs and taking the sits bones back, begin to squat, utilizing the abs for support, the quads for support, taking the pressure off the low back. So abs and quads are engaged pretty well here. Shoulders are wide and released outward, and armpits are loose. Place your hands on the chair and allowing for a nice long spine, tail extending away from the crown of your head. Step your left foot towards the chair and press the knee into the chair as you place weight on the chair. Step the right foot back, placing the toe down first, and then pressing the heel towards the floor. And perhaps the heel doesn't necessarily make contact with the floor, and that's just fine. The front knee, the left knee, should be over the ankle, so adjust the foot appropriately. And then take the right knee to the floor, using hand support and ab support again as you move. Bring yourself to the floor, taking the left knee down as well. So a nice, gentle, slow movement, easing yourself to the floor, especially if your back isn't feeling well right now. Lay down on the right side hip and then right side body. And adjust yourself so that your head will rest on your blanket. And come on down to the floor and then roll onto your back. Slowly moving if your back is sore right now. And adjust yourself so that you're centered on your mat. The shoulders resting on the floor, not on the blanket. Keeping the knees bent and the feet and knees about hip width apart. Adjusting so that you can find a possible neutral spine here. Now I say possible because the psoas may be so tight that it's pulling on your low back. Take your hands to the floor and draw the belly button towards the floor. And take the tail a little bit towards the ceiling. And then take the tail, the tip of your tail towards the floor.
And lift the spine a little bit towards the ceiling. So we're rocking on the sacrum from back to front, front to back. And then rock back towards the top of the sacrum, the tail, lifting towards the ceiling, pressing the lumbar spine, the belly into the floor. And rock back and forth on the sacrum gently, warming up the lumbar spine, getting the blood moving into that area. And let's give that, perhaps even a couple of minutes here. And while we're working on warming up the lumbar spine, we can warm up the wrists. Since we'll be having some weight on the wrists a little bit, let's do some wrist rotations. Rolling the wrists one direction. As you rock on the sacrum, front to back, gently pressing this lumbar spine, the lower spine into the floor, and gently lifting the lumbar spine towards the ceiling or sky. And breathing, checking in with your breathing. Lengthening the breath. And then pause the wrists. And rotating the wrist the other direction. Rocking on the sacrum. Tail towards the floor and then tail towards the ceiling. Pressing the spine into the floor and then spine arcing up towards the ceiling, the lower spine, the lumbar region. And a few more. You can let your hands rest anytime you like. And 3 more. And 2. And 1. And maybe you're feeling a little bit more warmth in the lower spine, and just let the spine rest in neutral the best it can. Now take your right knee, your thigh towards your chest, and grasp around the shin if that's good for you. If that's not too much on your knees, if that's too much for your knees, you can grasp under the calf and on the thigh. Okay. And draw that knee towards the chest as you press the sacrum into the floor. The sacrum is the lowest part of your spine. It's the part that sits in the pelvis. Then breathing into that hip joint, pressing the sacrum into the floor as you gently pull the right leg towards the chest. And if it's good for you, extend the left leg, flexing so that the feet are towards the ceiling. If that's not good for you, if that causes some pain or irritation, keep the leg bent. Now, as you gently draw the right leg towards the chest, the right knee towards the chest, and as you extend through the left, extending through the heel of the left foot and through the ball of the left foot, balls underneath the toes. Press the sacrum into the floor at the same time. And the shoulders, let's keep them wide and the shoulder blades on the floor. And now take the hands, if they're not there already, under the knee, on the thigh, and under the calf, and extending the right foot towards the ceiling, and then bringing that back down. Let's inhale on the extension and pressing the heel and the ball towards the ceiling. And exhaling. Again. Pressing the heel, pressing the ball of the foot towards the ceiling, pressing the sacrum into the floor at the same time, keeping the shoulder blades into the floor, armpits loose, not squeezing your armpits together, and back down. And the left leg, whichever is best for you, extended or knee bent. And then one more here. Pressing the heel, pressing the ball of the foot towards the ceiling and the sacrum into the floor. And then release the right leg, the right foot back to the floor, and bring that left foot back up towards the hip and the left knee bent. Now on the other side, bring the left thigh to belly and the left knee towards the chest. Shoulders into the floor, armpits loose. And then extend the right leg if that works for you. If it doesn't, keep it bent. Pressing through the heel and the ball of the foot there. And drawing the left knee to chest. Hands on the shin or hands on the thigh. And breathing into that left hip joint if it's tight. And then grasping behind the left thigh, under the calf. Extending the left foot towards the ceiling, pressing through the heel and the ball of the foot. And drawing that back down. And then inhaling, extend. Exhaling. Bring the leg back down, pressing the sacrum into the floor at the same time. Inhaling, extend. Exhaling. Bring the leg back down. Inhaling, extend. Exhaling. Bring the leg back down. And one more. Extend. Press through the heel, press through the ball of the foot. And then bringing the leg back down. And then release the left foot to floor. And draw the right foot back in and bend the knee. Now take your strap or whatever you have to use for a strap. It could be a towel, it could be a belt. And draw the right knee to chest and wrap the strap around the ball of the right foot. Not the toes, not the arch, the ball of the right foot and extend the right leg overhead. And keeping the armpits loose and the shoulder blades into the floor, extend up through the heel and the ball of the foot. Be careful not to collapse and hyperextend. I guess that makes more sense. The right knee, keep it soft, but extending through the heel and the ball of the foot. And draw the foot overhead. This is hand to toe, but with a strap. So you can grasp the strap with one hand and place the other hand on the floor for more support. Backing that off, engaging the abs for movement, you can slide the other leg into extension as well if you like. Whichever works best for you. If you can maintain both sides of the hips on the floor. So the sacrum pressing into the floor as we extend both legs and drawing the foot overhead gently, but stretching the hamstrings and the calf. And breathing, checking in with your breathing. And while you're doing this move, if you notice that your chin juts upward towards the ceiling, lengthen the back of the neck and draw that chin back down towards the throat. And now let's take the strap into your left hand and place your right hand on the floor. Palm down. And engaging the abs with movement for support, draw that right foot leg across the belly a little bit. Keeping the right hip on the floor, so we're really not going too far with that. And again, if the right hip comes up too much, you might want to bend the left knee. See how that kept that on the floor? A little better. Pressing the sacrum down as you extend through the ball of the right foot and the heel of the right foot. And then back to center. And take the strap into the right hand and the left palm to the floor. This time, let's do this with the left leg bent for more support, and draw that foot in towards the hip. And take the right leg outward, really keeping the sacrum on the floor. Don't go too far if this is too much. Extending through the heel and the ball of the foot. If the sacrum lifts off the floor, you've gone too far. And then back up. Just a little bit outward. And let's draw that back overhead a little bit. Soft right knee, not hyperextended. You'll notice if you go too far, the bottom of the sacrum lifts off the floor. Take it back down. And then bend the right knee and release the strap on that side and bring that foot back to the ground. Let's pause a moment. Let the sacrum settle into the mat. And find a good base on the right foot as you bring the left knee toward your chest. Wrap the strap around the ball of the left foot and extending the left foot into the air, the soft left knee, as we press the sacrum into the floor, pressing upward at the same time through the ball and the heel of the left foot. Again, the right leg bent or extended. whichever works for you, as long as you can keep both sides of the hip on the floor and of the hips and the sacrum on the floor. And drawing that left foot overhead a little bit. And breathing. Lengthening the breath, breathing into the hip joint. And then bring that leg back upright and draw that with your right hand across the body. Left palm on the floor. And if your right leg is extended now, the right toes are still pointing towards the ceiling. So that leg isn't falling outward when we do this. Stays with the knee facing the ceiling. And shoulders, shoulder blades into the floor and armpits loose. Now let's lift that leg back up on the exhale. And with the left hand, extended leg if it's okay for you. Otherwise, slide that foot back up and bend the knee for more support. Depends on where your back is right now, doesn't it? If this causes pain, then you need to back off. Bend the right knee, find good foot placement. Draw that heel close to the hip, possible. And you ground that foot into the floor for support as you take the left leg outward just a little bit. This is taxing. If this lifts the hip off the floor, back off. You don't need to do it. If this causes any pain, it's not time for this one yet. It's a little bit of a strengthening here that you just don't need to do if there's pain right now. And then draw that leg back to center and bend the knee. Bring the foot down and remove your strap and place the strap on the floor. Let's adjust the feet so they're well grounded. Draw the heels as close to the fingertips as you can, close to the hips as you can. So, depends on the length of your arms, of course, but I have long arms and I know I can grab all the way around my heel. If you can't do that, that's fine. Just draw them in as far as you can. Feet are hip width apart, knees are hip width apart, and place the palms down and into the floor, and shoulder blades into the floor. And again, lengthen the back of the neck by drawing the chin towards the throat. Ground the feet. Inhale and exhale. Take the knees away from the chest. Gently lifting the pelvis off the floor, extending the knees away from the chest. So we're not thrusting the pelvis towards the sky. We're not thrusting the spine towards the sky. We are lengthening the thighs and hopefully giving the psoas a nice stretch through here, the iliopsoas part through here, lengthening the knees away from the chest. Now let's take a moment and give attention to the low back and lengthening the low back, allowing length in the low back. And then slowly lower back down. Slowly lower back down. Let's do that a few times. Inhale. And on the exhale, ground the feet. Take the knees away from the chest, lengthening the knees away from the chest. Really drawing the knees at an angle away from your chest. Use the palms and forearms for support. Shoulders into the floor. Chin not jutting towards the ceiling, lengthening the back of the neck, allowing length in the lower spine. not thrusting the pelvis towards the ceiling. This is just the lengthening of the front body. And then lower back down. If you like, you can take the arms overhead if that feels good, if you feel well supported. Okay, only do this if you feel well supported. You don't need your palms by your side. Inhale. And exhaling, knees away from chest. And this dynamic half bridge. Let the shoulders melt into the floor, lengthening the front body. Allowing length in the spine. And then lower back down. And one more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Lengthen the front body. Drawing the knees away from the chest. And lower back down. And take your block in one hand. And we're going to use this way, but it's going to go under your sacrum. So with one palm on the floor, ground the feet, lengthen the knees away from the chest, lifting the sacrum, and slide the block under the sacrum. Now, if the block is too high and cutting into the lumbar spine, it's not going to feel good. If the block is too low and not supporting the sacrum enough, it's not going to feel supported. So place that block, adjust it as needed, and rest the sacrum on the block. Now release into it. This is a stabilizing pose for the sacrum and pelvis. If this causes pain that feels wrong, engage your quads to lift yourself up and remove the block, and just do this with the sacrum on the floor. Just sitting here for a moment in this, really allow for a release. See if we can't allow the sacrum to release into the block. Let it go. Let the pelvis go towards gravity. Allow gravity to draw the sacrum, the pelvis, the hips into the block, towards the floor, towards the earth. You can close your eyes here a moment, breathing into it. Let the shoulders rest towards the floor. Lengthen the back of the neck, draw the chin gently towards the throat. Another breath here. Now to come out of this very slowly, very carefully. Keep one palm on the floor. Engage your quads. Ground your feet into the floor. Really engage the quads and use ab support as well. Inhale. Exhale. Take the knee away from the chest, lifting the pelvis, the sacrum off the block. Remove the block and gently lower back down. Pausing there for a moment. and draw one leg towards chest. Use your palms on the floor for support. Draw the other leg towards chest. Wrap your hands around your thighs or knees and gently tug the knees towards the chest. If you like, you can take your head towards your knees. And breathe. And then release the head back to the mat and the feet back to the mat. And let's keep the block handy. We're going to use that again here in just one moment. Place your palms on the floor, feet back where we had them, just below the hips, hip width apart. Pressing the palms and forearms into the floor, lift the hips an inch or two off the floor, move the hips a couple of inches to the left, and set them back down. So we're a little angled for the moment. Draw the thighs to the chest, and then roll the thighs to the right. Only as far as they'll go, and that's just fine. Take the block and place it in between the knees if the thighs don't land together. So if there's airspace between the thighs, place the block in there. You could also use another blanket. You could use a rolled up yoga mat, whatever works there. And if it feels okay, you can look the opposite direction of the knees. Now release into that. Kind of melt into the floor. Shoulders release into the floor. Hips. Thighs. Let this gentle twist open up. Let the feet slide out to where they need to be. And one more breath here. Very carefully look back towards the ceiling. Press the palms into the floor and draw the knees to chest first. Remove the block. Knees to chest first and roll back on to your back. And place the feet back on the floor. Let's move the block to the other side. Press the palms down. Draw those heels towards your hips. Lift the hips a couple of inches off the floor. Draw back to center. Place it down. Move your feet back to center. Lift the hips and then move them a couple of inches to the right. Place them back down. Draw the knees to chest and roll onto your left side. Again, thighs landing where they do, feet sliding where they need to be, and take the block and place it between your knees. If there's airspace between your knees, if the thighs are together, the knees are together, when you're resting, just let them be. But that block or mat or additional mat or blanket in between the knees really helps that upper hip let go. Now you can look in the direction your knees are, and if it feels good to you, look away from your knees. And release into this pose. Knee down twist. Let the shoulders release into the mat, the floor. Let the lower hip release into the floor, the thighs towards gravity, and the feet go wherever they need to be. And breathe. Rest your eyes. One more breath here. And then look back at the ceiling. Press your palms and forearms into the floor. Remove the block. And draw the knees towards chest first. Then roll back onto the mat. Place the feet down. And lift the hips and take them back to center. And adjust the feet at center. Pause there a moment. And then roll onto your right side. Hips, then shoulders. Onto your right side. And place your left palm on the floor in front of your chest. Extend the left leg and press the palm down and lift yourself back up to the right hip. And turn towards your chair. Come onto all fours. Walk the knees back. Walk the hands back as you take the sits bones towards the heels. Now, if the sits bones do not meet the heels, you can add the block in here. So slide the block between the ankles and the sits bones can rest on the block. If they do, they may not. Still might be so tight that you would need to roll up your blanket and place that on top of the block. Whatever you need to do with props to make yourself more comfortable so that you can come into Vajrasana. We're going to come into child's pose, belly to thigh. And resting the belly on the thigh. You can rest your head on another block or stack your fists. Whatever is best for you. Stay in that pose. I'm going to move back to sits bones to heels. That works well for me. And come down to the floor and giving you options with how you can rest in child's pose. You may still feel some tightness in the psoas, so that's the inner hip here. And that's okay. We're working with it. This exercise, this series can be done a couple of times a day as you work through back pain. Sometimes it happens to me because I do too much yoga because I'm teaching yoga in a day, and I might end up with some back pain. So doing a series like this to heal, along with plenty of rest, no more hard work. If you get into back pain, you need to stop your hard workouts for a while and do gentle practices until that eases. Let that head rest into the floor or the block or your hands. And then take the hands under the shoulders. Inhale, look up. Hi, Winston. That's my Winston making noises there. And remove the block. And place your blanket on the mat in front of you.
Walk your knees onto that blanket and hands to your chair. And step your left leg forward and draw that ankle under knee as the knee presses into the edge of the chair as you press down on the chair. If you can, you could even have the chair up against the wall. Just make sure it doesn't slide out on you. Be careful with that. And tuck the back toe. Breathe in and extend the back leg. And bring the right knee back down. And let's work with drawing the hips level to the chair, level with the floor, and shoulders down towards the floor, shoulder blades towards the floor, armpits loose. And let's come one more time into the extended leg. Press down on the chair. Hold that in place and press through the back heel. And breathe. Hips are level towards the chair and level towards the floor. Inhale, exhale, bring the right knee back down and scooch the left foot back. Engage the abs for movement. Bring the left knee to the blanket and bring the right leg forward. Scooch the right foot forward until it is under the knee that's meeting with the chair. So we want a little bit of an angle on that back leg. Don't want the back leg directly under the hip. Want it extending backward in a lunge. Tuck the back toe. Inhale, exhale, press through the back heel. As you press down on the chair. Inhale, exhale, bring the left knee back down. Level the hips towards the chair, level the hips to the floor. Inhaling, exhaling, armpits loose, shoulder blades moving towards your tail. Inhale, exhale, engage the abs. Lift the back knee and press the back heel towards the floor. It's not going to meet the floor, it's just moving towards the floor. Leveling the hips towards the chair, leveling the hips towards the floor. Inhale, exhale, bring the back knee down. One more time. And walk the right leg back just a little bit. Not all the way back to the knee on the mat. About halfway. Breathe in. Exhaling, engage the abs. Lift the back knee and step the left leg forward. Let's lengthen the tail from the crown. Make a nice long back and walk the feet back, stepping on your blanket. Inhaling, exhaling. Squat a little bit, bring the belly to thigh. Make a nice table back. Lengthen the legs only as much as the psoas will allow. It may still be tight. Might need to do this practice a couple of days before things really loosen up. It depends on how much has happened with the psoas, how much damage has been done, tightness there is. Take some time to heal. Lengthen back if it feels good.
This is a modified, very modified downward dog. You can let the head hang if it feels good to you. Keep the shoulders wide and keep a good pressure on the chair. Careful not to tuck under with your tail. You want to keep the tail long away from the crown of the head. Inhale, look up. Exhale, walk your feet forward towards the chair. Find the four corners of your feet. Ground them into the floor, hip width apart. Squat a little bit. Take your hands to your thighs. And then rise back to standing. Good. And yes, Winston has magically joined us on the mat. Good boy. Well, I hope that's good for you. I hope you feel a little more comfort, a little more ease in your back, a little better. Namaste, and see you in my next practice.